Welcome, everybody, to another long overdue episode, Lakers Outsiders episode. I almost said Locked on Lakers. I've never even done that.
That's not your show.
It's not my show at all. I am not Anthony or Harrison. I am Jacob. Gary is potato farming, I think, or something. I'm not sure what he was. Yeah.
Did not potato.
Yeah. Not sure where he's at tonight. He just said he couldn't come on the show this late. I don't know if he had some crops to attend to. I'm not sure. But joining me tonight, as you guys can hear, Grant and Hani. I'll start. Hani, on a scale of 1 to Byron Scott, how tired are you of seeing Tyler Ennis play?
I'm more tired of watching Tyler Ennis than I am of Gary missing podcasts because of either potatoes or falling asleep in flannel.
With a backwards hat on.
With a backwards hat on. Just face down.
It's getting to the point where I would rather see Byron Scott than Ennis out there. I can't stand watching him play, but we will get to that. Also joining my internet son, Grant. Grant, how are the Seahawks doing?
Well, I hear they got a really kick-ass podcast with somebody that's on this show, so they're doing well in that department, but they're not playing right now.
Big announcement, I am hosting a Seahawks podcast now.
Congrats, Hani.
Yeah, but no, this is my second Lakers podcast this week, so I'm like venturing out. I'm ready to talk.
We will start off talking not really about the Lakers. The NBA All-Star voting came out today. Everybody's angry, as always. Scheduled tweet, but the Lakers did kind of surprisingly well. Hani, I think you have some of the numbers pulled up. I guess I know Kuzma and Lonzo were the two that were kind of getting pushed the hardest. How'd they end up doing in voting?
You got me and Grant mixed up. Slightly different complexions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just slightly.
Grant, I didn't remember which one of you pulled it up. So Grant, you tell me how they did in voting.
All right. Well, Thomas Bryant got 5,699 fan votes. No. Kyle Kuzma actually did really well in terms of like player votes. He got 16, which is kind of surprising. Probably just had all the Lakers go and vote for him. But he got, if I'm reading this correctly, 524,000. Third time's a charm. Fan ranked was 10th in Western Conference front court voting. And Lonzo was he was 6th in fan voting for guards. Interesting stat. Josh Hart had more votes than Austin Rivers. So if you ever want to like look at the caliber of a player and then the fan voting, like to see like, all right, well, like who's LA's team? Like it shouldn't be in a question in the first place, but come on, like people like the Lakers.
Tyler Ennis was up there with some all-star legends too.
Alex Caruso got more votes than Tyler Ennis.
Oh, well,
Alex Caruso was robbed, first of all, of a starting spot in the All-Star game.
No, but a certain Sacramento King, George Hill, had less votes than Tyler Ennis. So, yeah, the West, it's like even the worst player that we've seen play basketball in years for the Lakers got more fan votes than a really, really better player than Tyler Ennis. I'm not going to say good. He was good last year.
Yeah, we want to take responsibility. We haven't really done the math, but probably roughly 10% of Alex Caruso's fan votes we're going to take responsibility for from Twitter. I can think of multiple times we tweeted out Alex Caruso NBA vote. So yeah, we're gonna take some credit there on that one.
Yeah, Thomas Bryant was 65th in fan voting. Got no player votes, so we got work to do next year. We have to have a clear-cut agenda going into All-Star voting.
I'm starting the campaign right now for Thomas Bryant to be into the All-Star game. It's been way too long since we've had a Bryant in an All-Star game.
we will start chopping together a hype video to be ready for next winter.
I'm gonna go to all the G League games and film it personally.
Perfect. Grant did mention before we went on, there probably will still be some Lakers at All-Star Weekend, obviously, other than it being in Los Angeles. I would imagine Lonzo and Kuzma, Ingram will all be in the Rising Stars Challenge.
Maybe even Josh Hart. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then the Skills Challenge, Lonzo might. I'm not sure. That'd be interesting. Lonzo might be in it.
I feel like he's got the speed, he's got the passing, and he can dribble through the cones like anybody else could. The thing is, like, when it comes down to it, can he hit the shot to win?
Oof.
Oh, God. I don't even want to hear those takes when he doesn't. I think most importantly, he has the name that that people want to tune in to watch. Because, to be honest, I couldn't tell you the last time I watched a Skills Challenge.
Yeah, and we're going to have to tune in to watch because we can't buy tickets to go watch it in person.
Yeah, that's a bummer. Question. If Lonzo does make it to one of the events, well, he'll be in the Rising Stars game. But if he makes it to the Skills Challenge, I was going to get to that later. But if he does make it to the Skills Challenge, does LeVar get on the court? Do they
is he passing him the ball?
I know what I need now. I need Lonzo in the dunk contest so LeVar can give him an alley-oop. It's like, remember Steve Nash a couple years ago where he like headed the ball off the glass to Amari? Yes. I need LeVar out there doing that.
No, LeVar's he's gonna shoot a jump shot and it's gonna go off the back of the rim and Lonzo's gonna dunk it like a putback.
The first ever putback dunk in an all-star or a slam dunk contest.
LeVar's gonna run onto the court half naked like at the WWE event. Throw off a pass off the backboard.
Oh, I am here for
But honestly, I think I actually started a petition about this, but we need LeVar in the celebrity game.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, there's no way they do it, but that would be amazing. I would 100% watch that. That's another thing.
That one we can get tickets to too.
We need to have signs.
Yeah.
You guys need to find Lakers guy. Sit with him.
Oh yeah.
Wear the gold Lakers chain, stuff like that.
Have a personal LeVar sign.
I talked to Harrison about this on Locked On Lakers earlier this week that I think 2018, the power couple of 2018 is going to be LeVar and Lakers sign guy. I think they're finally going to get together and have a beautiful relationship.
I heard you guys say that. I was surprised that they haven't joined forces yet. That'd be an impressive duo.
They get big baller brand signs.
The only other player, which we mentioned the dunk contest. I'd be surprised if Nance wasn't in it, assuming he's healthy. Knock on wood, because that's really been the only thing that stopped him the last couple of years. Some poorly timed injuries. So I think Nance will be in the dunk contest if nothing else.
Yeah, and because it's in LA, I'm sure the NBA is taking that into consideration.
I feel like too. Kuz might be able to get into the front court for the skills challenge too.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, or he could even make it into the 3-point shootout. I don't know if his 3-point shooting is still up there among bigs, but he might find his way in there.
Because I forgot they were expanding. They're still doing international and US for the Rising Stars.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so yeah, that hurts Josh Hart's chances a little bit, but like the Lakers could be well represented again.
Yeah,
it'd be interesting. I don't know that he'd do it. Zubats might have been one that could have made it, but he hasn't played hardly at all this year.
Dude, they should have him in the skills challenge though.
What, like one of the mannequins you dribble by?
So yeah, Kuzma's 3-point shooting is down to 37%. So I'd be surprised if he's in the 3-point shootout. But he definitely could be in the skills challenge as a front court player. It depends. Ingram might sneak in there too as a skills. I don't know. It'll be. I would be surprised if Lonzo wasn't at the very least though. Yeah. Just as a name and it being in LA, stuff like that. So yeah, there'll still be plenty to watch in terms of Lakers related stuff for the All-Star weekend, except for the game itself. Don't think any Lakers are going to be named as reserves. So pour one out for the GP2 era. It's coming, but it just started too late this year.
Yeah, a reminder, Lonzo Ball had more than twice as many fan votes as Devin Booker.
And he had, what'd you say, 160,000 more than Dame?
Yeah, and he had more votes than Chris Paul. I mean, he really had more votes than everybody except five guards in the Western Conference. So one guy I want to see is Lou Williams. I think he deserves to make the All-Star team.
Yeah, I would agree. He was.
I'm just really excited. If Lou does make it, it'll be really funny if he's just chucking up floating 3-pointers.
No, it's going to be really funny when he's trying to like draw fouls on an All-Star game. That's going to be real weird.
Wait, guys, Luol Deng got 3,690 All-Star votes.
First of all, nice.
And those are the player votes.
Luol Deng actually. I forgot he was around until Larry Nance was tweeting about him last night.
Luol Deng
just trash soccer takes.
He could just buy votes right now. He's got plenty of money to buy votes.
That's what he did. He bought bot accounts for Twitter to vote for him. So yeah,
a lot of free time.
It's kind of sad because he'll be posting stuff on like his Instagram story where he's like just hanging out like at his pool or something, like 6 hours for a Laker game. He's like driving around somewhere, and it's just like I almost feel bad for him, but then I remember he's making like $35 million more dollars, and I don't feel quite as bad. So yeah, as I said, there'll be plenty to watch for Laker stuff for the All-Star weekend. What was not fun to watch, Lakers related, were the last two games they've played, which have been ugly. There are only two games this week. At Memphis on MLK Day, Monday, they lose. They only lost by 9, but that was kind of deceptive. It was not a pretty game for much of it. And then Wednesday, they lose to OKC. I didn't watch that game, but Carmelo Anthony had almost 30 points, so that probably tells me all I needed to know from that game. Like I said, I didn't watch the game, so I'll throw it to you first, Hani. What's been kind of your biggest takeaway these last two losses after that 4-game win streak?
There's a couple of things. I mean, the very obvious one is that this team just isn't good enough to be without major rotation players, especially in the backcourt. When they're missing Lonzo Ball for the last 2 games and Tyler Ennis has to start, it just kind of throws everything off. And it's not even necessarily offensively. Like they scored the ball fine against the Thunder without Lonzo setting them up, but it hurts them a lot defensively because Tyler Ennis might be the worst defender I've ever seen in my life. And their rebounding has suffered a ton. I think against the Thunder the other night, their starters as a total, a unit, had 8 rebounds the entire game. They just got manhandled by Steven Adams. And that was basically the story of the game because their defense wasn't great. They didn't play with a whole lot of effort, but they held Russell Westbrook and Paul George to something like 9 of 29 shooting. Like they made him super inefficient. I think they actually might have shot the ball better than the Thunder for a large chunk of that game, but they still lost it because they couldn't secure any rebounds. So yeah, just not having Lonzo has been a huge blow. Obviously not having Ingram for some of that as well. And then the other thing is just it's a young team, so we should expect at least some of these drop-offs in play every once in a while. Like against the Grizzlies, they probably played hard for like a total of 5 minutes, and the fact that they only lost by 9 is actually pretty impressive. Against the Thunder, they fell behind pretty early, stormed back, got close by halftime, and then they just ran out of gas in the second half and couldn't do anything. It's obviously disappointing from a fan's point of view. Like we kind of just expect all these guys to always be playing hard, but I think we should be a little bit more expecting of that sort of thing to happen, especially with young guys that just aren't used to playing this long of a season, especially down a couple of starters and rotation players.
Yeah, I agree. Like they kind of set the standard for themselves like earlier in the year when they were like top 5 in defensive rating.
Yeah.
And they were running up and down the court playing super hard, every game. And then they started to get injured a little bit more, and they started seeing the record without Lonzo Ball. So like without him, it seems like the team has no drive. Like they're not as competitive. They don't compete as hard, and it's kind of like a repeat of what we saw last year. They got off to a better start than we thought they would, and then they got injured, and then it all went downhill from there. But like I'd say that the difference between this year's team and last year's team is 1, there's no D'Angelo Russell. 2,
why'd you have to remind me?
Too soon.
Because you're too high off the Vikings one. I need to bring you back down to earth a little bit. But there's more of a consistent effort from this year's team. And the fact that Luke Walton has gotten these guys to buy in at all during the season, when there's a bunch of 1-year deals, is great. And it's a good sign of a leader. But the competitiveness has been more consistent with this year's team, but still it's been a little bit patchy, and we see them kind of take nights off sometimes. And they can't afford to do that, being as young as they are, being as injured as they are.
I think one of the things this front office doesn't get enough flack for was the fact that they brought back Tyler Ennis and nobody else to play point guard. I don't know if we were all kind of focused on the other point guard or the other point guard move or whatever in the offseason.
What's his name?
I'm not even going to know. I'm too sad. It'll bring up too much anger. I'm not even going there. But the fact that this team, a lot of us were kind of clamoring for it, that just bring in a veteran to back up Lonzo to help kind of mentor him. But I don't know if the Lakers were swayed by the 10 good games or whatever that Ennis played at the end of last year or what. They bring him back instead, and going off a point Hani made of the kind of regular rotation players that played, Ennis is dead last on the team in defensive rating at 109.3.
This team's been absolute garbage over the past few games.
Yeah. And Brewer's the only one close. That was pretty egregious, and it's a decision that's looking worse and worse. I think especially when like a player like Jameer Nelson was like right there, even late in the offseason.
Well, even like a player like Darren Williams who's still out there, like you don't even need to play all that much, but you can have him around in a mentor role. For a guy like Lonzo, who maybe should be more aggressive at the rim and can get to the rim a little bit more, a guy like Darren Williams would be great for him in that sense, because he has so much to teach, and Lonzo still has so much to learn in terms of when to go up with it, when to show the ball at the rim, how to shield the defender from using his body from getting contact. So there's still a lot for Lonzo to learn, and I don't think there's a guy on the roster in that sort of role for Lonzo as a role model or someone that can teach them, like there was for the front court guys in Bogut and the young guys like Nance and Randall.
Yeah.
And just kind to circle back around one more time on Lonzo. Hani, is it surprising to you that this team is – I know they were without Lonzo and Ingram, but this is multiple times now this season we've seen them without Lonzo, and they look awful. Is it surprising to you that they're so dependent on a rookie point guard?
Not super surprising. Like you said, a lot of those games that he's missed, they've also been missing other guys. Like Brook Lopez was out for a bunch of them. Ingram was out for some of them. KCP might have been out for a couple of them. But yeah, you're right. They are very much dependent on him, and I don't think to an extent, it has to do with how well he's playing overall, even if his shooting is, up and down and awful to start the year, but getting better. But the other fact of the matter is that they just don't have any good backups behind him. Like Tyler Ennis, like I don't want to keep bashing him, but he just hasn't been good. Jordan Clarkson just isn't really a point guard. He can do a little bit of playmaking as a secondary guy, but he's not somebody that Luke really trusts around the offense, which is why Tyler Ennis has been starting. KCP, the same sort of thing. He can create a little bit as a secondary guy, but he's not going to be a point guard. Really, their best backup point guard has been Alex Caruso, and he's a guy who's bouncing back and forth from the G League, and he's a rookie as well. So it's just the way that this team has been built overall, with a lack of depth at point guard, plus like they don't even have any shooters that can just go off for a couple of games without Lonzo and kind of just balance out the talent by shooting the lights out. Just makes it really tough to deal with a loss like that.
And kind of to put the bow on the point there, to talking about just the huge gap between Lonzo and Ennis. I mentioned Ennis was worst on the team in defensive rating out of the rotation players. The best on the team is Lonzo. And there's a 7-point difference between the two of them, which is a huge gap. And it's kind of, I mean, you can see that. You don't even really need the stats to tell you that. You can just watch and see that that's the case. One other thing that we'll kind of mention about the games, which just didn't really play out on Wednesday, it doesn't look like. Like I said, I didn't watch it. But I thought it was interesting, Monday's game, and then his comments after. KCP seemed like a guy who kind of realized that there was a void offensively, and he was kind of chucking shots against Memphis, but I thought he played well.
Yeah.
For a offense that needs somebody to do that with both Lonzo and Ingram out. I'll throw it to you, Grant. I guess, what do you kind of think of KCP playing that way? And I guess, what have you kind of thought of the way he played since he's gotten this whole jail, work release, that whole situation kind of behind him now?
Well, yeah, ever since he's put that past him, since he's been freed, he's been playing a lot better. Like, he's been playing, a lot more loose, and like when you but seriously, when you don't have something like that hanging over you, and you don't have to literally go to jail every day after you come back from work, like that, is a lot easier on your mind. I can't speak from experience, but like I'd have to assume. But yeah, he's shooting the 3-ball better. He's shooting, overall just better. He's hitting his free throws at a better rate. And he's kind of shouldering more of the load on offense. You still see Randall have the ball in his hands a little bit more. Brook Lopez is gonna get his shots whenever he's on the floor. And I think that if KCP's taking a bigger load of the shots, that means Brook Lopez isn't just hoisting threes, and he's not having the ball in the post and then throwing up a random hook shot and it clanking off the back of the rim. And yeah, it's good to see someone embrace that, to have that kind of mentality, have that attitude, and embrace the role with so many key players missing time. And now he's missing time, so it's gonna be interesting to see who shoulders the load. If he's out, if Lonzo's out, if Brandon Ingram's out, and Kuzma, you're gonna have to rely on Julius Randle. You're gonna have to rely on Brook Lopez, Jordan Clarkson, and then outside of that, your scoring options are pretty drab.
That was a depressing, 2 sentences. With all those guys out, it will be ugly.
It'll be the most unwatchable game all year.
Yeah. But just to mention on KCP here, the last thing. Over the last 6 games, which I think is the span since he's been freed, basically, he's shooting 51% from the field, 50% from 3, averaging 15 points a game. Obviously, small sample size, but that has been one of the positives during this kind of most recent stretch of basketball when there have been so few positives, it seems like. I will pose one more question before we move on to the couple other things here. I think Hani and I kind of talked about this on Twitter the other night, but just kind of an interesting hypothetical. If the Lakers do only get one max free agent and they have to choose, well, don't have to choose, but if they could choose between KCP and Brook Lopez, who would you bring back next year and why? I'll throw it to you first, Grant.
If I had to choose right now, I mean, KCP's younger. He plays defense, and you can put him in multiple positions. Defensively, you can put him on the other team's best guard. Even though Lonzo's been kind of a formidable defender at his age and position. But yeah, I think that Brook Lopez, he's still valuable, and I think that his contract, he's still going to demand a lot of money, and for the price and the player that you're getting, I think that KCP can be more valuable to a team, especially when you need so much depth in the backcourt. And so if I had to choose between the two of them, I'd go KCP. But it's not a slight at Brook Lopez.
Hani, which way would you go?
I definitely lean towards Brook. It obviously depends a lot on the contract. But if all things equal, I think I would go with Brook Lopez simply because he just seems like a really good fit in the back as a rim protector and offensively as just a guy who can space the floor for Lonzo as a stretch five. I think his value defensively kind of goes understated because he's not a guy that like swats shots or anything. He gets his fair amount of blocks, but they're never spectacular. But he does a lot of the whole verticality thing that the Lakers wanted with Roy Hibbert. Yeah, I don't know why I randomly decided to bring up his name, but it made me. But yeah, he does a lot of that, and he's been a good leader. I thought that Memphis game, I was really impressed with Brook, not necessarily because of the way he played, which he was good at, but he seemed incredibly frustrated, and he made a dumb play because of it, where he pushed a guy that was jumping in midair, and that's dangerous, and he deservedly got a flagrant one. But after that, he was very vocal with his teammates, and you could see why that sort of person for a young team is so valuable, because as a leader, he kind of got them going a little bit, and they ended up coming back in that game and getting it a little bit closer and kind of putting up a fight. So I think he brings value as that. He brings value as a shooter for a team that just doesn't have any. And defensively, I just kind of tend to go with a big guy's value is more important than a wing.
I'll break the tie. I said the other night, and I think I'd stick with it, that I'd bring back KCP.
You're the best dad.
To me, the way the league's kind of moving toward more wing players and whatnot, it's been a area of weakness for the Lakers, and they have a good young wing on the roster. I know he's frustrated people at times, but I think he's another guy whose defense is kind of understated at times. And I mean, he can be a solid offensive player. It's different than what we've seen. I mean, guys like Nick Young and Lou Williams were kind of in his role last couple years, so it's a little bit different than what we've seen the last couple years. But to me, I think just the importance of having a good wing player and a good wing defender, especially when we can put them with LeBron and PG next year, will be perfect. Couple quick things here before we get to some questions. We'll start off. I guess I'll talk about Nigel Hayes a little bit, since neither of you guys are too familiar with him. For those that may have missed it, the Lakers signed Nigel Hayes.
We really buried that lead.
Yeah, well, I don't think it was. I don't think a 10-day contract really warrants a whole lot of recognition, especially to me, a player I'm kind of hum about. he was a 4-year player at Wisconsin who kind of plateaued a bit by his senior year, and maybe even regressed a little bit.
Didn't he
Wasn't a very good
as a sophomore
or junior year, which he was a part of the. I mean, some of you guys might remember him from the team that beat Kentucky, that crazy stacked Kentucky team. But yeah, by the time his senior year came around, he took a step back. Really, I thought wasn't all that impressive. He was a career 33% 3-point shooter at Wisconsin. He was more of a stretch four. He's 6'8", kind of big, muscular guy, which really, I'm not really sure why the Lakers brought him in. He's not a guy I don't think you can play as a 3. I think the only thing, I think the thing that might kind of save him, I guess they're looking to play him with the bench unit, maybe move Kuzma to the 3 and take Corey Brewer's minutes. He has looked decent in the G League. He's shooting most notably 44% from 3 on 5 attempts a game. If he can provide something like that, then sure, he'll have some value. I think he'll be a decent defender. He can guard 4s. He's a all right rebounder, nothing spectacular. So it was just overall kind of a mess signing. I would have rather seen them go after some more of a pure wing player because the Lakers already have a crowded front court. I'm not really sure how the minutes will work with him, but we'll see. I wouldn't imagine they would sign him to a 10-day until tomorrow. Otherwise, you're kind of wasting one of the days today. So I'd imagine they'll announce it Friday. But he'll get, looks like 5 games in his 10-day contract. And they could sign him to a second one if they wanted, which would take him up to almost the All-Star weekend. So I think we'll get probably a pretty good look at him, see how he's able to contribute. I don't have my hopes up too high about it.
I think he said that the Lakers or Kobe was his favorite after the title, or like after they beat Kentucky or something like that. Like he drew inspiration from Kobe. It could be mistaken.
No wonder they signed him.
Yeah, right.
Makes a lot more sense now. Guess I should have just written that or just said that.
No, but seriously, like,
oh, I remember what it was. He got Kobe's locker at during the NCAA tournament. They played at Staples. And he was, you're right. He went on about, he was super excited to get Kobe's locker.
Did he play well in the national championship game, or was the pressure of having Kobe's locker too much for him?
It wasn't the national championship game, but I like where you're going with that. So yeah,
but like, if you don't mind me like going off for a little bit, but like that's why I mentioned like Darren Williams. Like I know he's not like the old Darren Williams. Like we saw like how he looked on the Cavs, like especially in the finals, but like that's a guy that you don't need to play more than 5 or 10 minutes a night, or if any minutes. But it's a guy that you can have on the roster to mentor these guys. Like Jordan Clarkson's already proficient at getting to the rim, but I'm sure there's something that Darren Williams could teach him, or like any of these backup guards, they can learn just like tips and tricks from him to not be so trash. And I mean, for lack of better terms, but Lonzo, especially, because he's so willing to just kick it out every time he gets to the rim. And when he does get to the rim, he's blocked at a pretty high rate because he shows the ball too often. So you need to learn how to, show the ball when you need to put it up to the rim and shield with your body from contact and finish through contact. And Darren Williams is a guy that could get to the hole and do some damage there. So like, it's not the on-court product that I want in a guy like him, but just in a practice setting, in a mentor setting, because that's a guy who's played for playoff teams. He's played in the finals. He's played for Team USA. He's won gold. So, that's a guy that would have value at least on the roster, rather than a guy like Nigel Hayes who might not play more than 5 or 10 minutes a game in that crowded front court, and who might not be on the team after 10 days.
Yeah.
And so, like, I see why they would bring in a guy that shoots 44% from three in the G League, like a young guy just to take a flyer on, because you need those fringe NBA guys to see if there's something there, to see if you have another David Nwaba on your hands. God bless his soul.
His handsome soul.
His handsome, strong soul. And yeah, you got to take a flyer on these guys. I get that, but at the same time, you have a potential franchise cornerstone in Lonzo, and there's some really good info that you can learn from a guy like that.
The Darren Williams thing to me is really weird because I thought he was fine last year. Like the finals, he sucked, but that's because he's playing against the Warriors, who can just destroy,
expose him.
Yeah,
everybody looks like they suck against the Warriors.
Yeah. But like during the season, I thought he was fine. Like he's obviously not the Darren Williams that everybody used to compare to Chris Paul, but he can still spot up and shoot, which God knows the Lakers need. And he can be a secondary playmaker at least. And he'll have a quarter or two every once in a while where he'll go off a little bit. There's been like really nothing linking him to the Lakers at all. I haven't even heard any reports of like any other teams having interest in him, which is kind of weird. But yeah, like Grant said, I'm fine with like that whole Nigel Hayes thing. I don't really know anything about him, but you never know what you can get. In general, I think like Lakers fans, especially on Twitter, kind of overreact a little bit to who the 17th guy on the roster is going to be.
Right.
But
like I just did for like a good 2.5 minutes.
I'm 100% subtweeting you to your face.
Right.
But I mean, you do want to like just get as much value as you can out of whatever roster spots you have. Like it's a valid concern, and I wouldn't mind them going after some veteran guy, whether it be Darren Williams or somebody else that I can't think of that's on the open market right now.
Yeah, like you're saying, like it's the 17th roster spot. Like that position's not gonna matter, you know, in terms of minutes or on court stuff. So like, yeah, I see your point about like putting it under a microscope and being like real scrutinizing about it. But at the same time, it's something to talk about. We're talking about the Lakers at 10:30 at night. Talking about Nigel Hayes and Kobe's locker.
I guess the counter to that is sometimes the 17th roster spot turns into David Nwaba, who would 100% be a rotation player for us this year and is in Chicago. He's probably more than that in Chicago.
He's KCP without the ankle bracelet.
Oh, Jesus.
On that note, we will switch to talking about the trade deadline, and that'll also kind of take us into some questions. We asked you guys for questions on Twitter. A lot of them were about Julius Randle and the trade deadline and whatnot. So I'll pose this question first. I apologize. I'm not even going to try to say your name. You have like 13 threes in it. But it's highest percentage of getting traded, Randle or Clarkson. Grant, who do you see is more likely being traded?
I'll go with like something I've been echoing through this whole show is like I think Clarkson is the most likely name, especially with like how contracts are being made in these last few years. He can provide a lot of scoring off the bench. An energetic guy when you get him in the game. He can fill it up. And his contract season move, you're going to have to pay Randle if you move him, and Randle's going to demand more money than Clarkson's currently on. And plus, with the team seemingly coming out supporting Randle a little bit more, putting him in the starting lineup, having pundits say all these things about the Lakers potentially, holding on to him, rumors that they're going to move on from him at the deadline or after the season. There's been some I wouldn't say counter rumors, but like stuff, what's the word? Just kind of denying that and going the opposite way. Contradicting reports saying that they might hold on to him after all. Thank you, Dad.
Hani,
you've taught me well.
Hani, who do you see is more likely to be traded?
I think I agree with Grant. I think in general, they're probably pretty close. But the biggest thing going against being able to trade Randle right now is the fact that he is a free agent. And the way he's playing right now, he's going to be able to get a pretty decently sized contract. So any team that trades for him now is not only giving up some sort of asset, it might not be a whole lot anyway, but some sort of asset, and then they have to pay him a whole bunch. Clarkson, on the other hand, his contract is a little, like, it might be a little too much for the kind of role that he plays and what he's kind of turned into in the NBA, but at least you know what you're getting in him. I think he's a little easier to fit into like a good team's rotation, just because all you have to do is play him off the bench and give him the ball and tell him to go score it. Whereas Randall's kind of a tougher to kind of build into your system and build your system around him, even if he is a better player. So yeah, I think Clarkson probably. I really don't have a feel for this trade deadline though, and we were kind of talking about this before we got on. I honestly have no idea at all what the Lakers are going to try to do.
I just hope they don't trade for Derrick Rose.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, God. Why would you bring that up?
Yeah, why would you put that in the universe?
We were all thinking it.
Yeah, and I agree with Hani that I mean, I was surprised that the deadline's 2 weeks away. It doesn't feel that close. It usually, you can, by the amount of rumors that you hear, you can tell the deadline's getting closer and closer.
Yeah.
They're really, at least I haven't seen really that many rumors, just in general around the NBA. But kind of going off what Hani said, another question we got from, I believe it's Afo Brain. Do we keep Randall, and what would his contract be? Hani, I'll throw it to you first.
I mean, I've been championing Julius Randle forever. I would love for them to keep him. I recognize that would likely mean that they wouldn't get 2 max free agents, but I kind of doubt that they do anyway. I really have no idea if the Lakers are going to do that, though. The latest report, I guess we should say, and it's up on our site, is that the Lakers are kind of finding it tough to trade him right now because, as we just kind of talked about, teams aren't willing to give up a whole lot for him, knowing that they're going to have to pay him and knowing that they can get him as a free agent if the Lakers are so desperate to clear up cap space. And that report also said that if the Lakers do keep him past the trade deadline, then that's might be an indication that they're going to keep him long term. That said, that sort of stuff like changes on the daily. And like we've heard multiple reports that they've tried to trade him, that they have put him on the trade block right now, and that they're not going to trade him. So it's really tough to tell. But for his contract, I think he's going to be a guy that gets something like 14 or 15 mil a year for 4 years. He's not going to be a max guy because there's still a lot of questions about him and a lot of flaws that he has, but he's just improved a ton. And the fact that he has made that growth year to year, and especially this year, is I think that's a good sign that he's going to be able to figure more of those things out as he gets older. So I think a lot of teams would be willing to give him money.
If you want to be sad like me, you could just wonder like how good he would be with a full season of development that he missed after he broke his leg.
Absolutely.
Man, sometimes
and even with Byron Scott.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes we do forget this is basically only his 3rd season.
He's only 23 years old.
Yeah, and he's completing his 3rd season. Well, yes, technically his 4th. But yeah, as Hani was saying, I think that report came from Bobby Marks. Ramona had one, Ramona Shelburne, saying that sounded like he might really be part of their long-term plans, but for every Ramona and Bobby Marks report, there's one from Woj who has been kind of consistently saying he's not a part of the plans. He's going to be traded.
Yeah.
He's not. His future isn't in LA. So it kind of just depends on who you want to believe, basically. Grant, I'll throw kind of a different form of the question. If Randall is a $14 million a year guy, would you rather land the 2 max free agents, or would you rather land maybe Paul George and then, as we were talking earlier, Randall and KCP, keep both of them and kind of make that your other max free agent?
Well, who is the other max free agent in the two? Anybody?
I mean, I'll say probably Paul George because he's the most. I feel like most
No, I'm
likely.
saying the two.
Oh,
the
probably
two
LeBron.
Well, yeah, then yeah, I'm picking LeBron.
Yeah.
I don't think twice about that. I know, like, for some weird reason, I'm gonna get pushback for saying that from Lakers fans because to a fault, we're loyal to our Laker legends, and I respect that.
I'll be
Respect
better.
with 2-4 in the middle of it. And like I love Kobe as much as the next person, but like it wasn't until really Kobe went to the twilight of his career that I could fully appreciate LeBron because I wasn't so blinded by my horse in the race and Kobe. But yeah, he's a generational player, and anytime you have a chance to get LeBron James, you got to take it. But it is a good scenario if you get Paul George and you bring back Randall, you bring back KCP. That's still a good squad, and you have another year of development for Ingram, Lonzo Ball, and you kind of bank on a guy like Thomas Bryant to get some more minutes on the five, and you have Kuzma still available off the bench, or if you want to plug him in the starting lineup. So there's still a lot of flexibility with the Lakers lineups that they could have. Imagine the defensive potential of a lineup with Paul George, KCP, and Josh Hart. Like something like that is tough for any offense to go up against. And so there's stuff to like in both scenarios, but obviously, I'm not biased, but if I have a chance to get LeBron James on my team, I'm taking it.
Does it change your choice at all if it's, say, Boogie in PG?
Yeah, because I feel like the combination of KCP and Randall would probably impact the team better than Boogie, who I love. Like he's a great player. I don't think he moves the needle more than Randall and KCP do.
A couple other questions we had here. Laker Jonathan 24 asked, "Do the Thunder have cap space to keep both Melo and PG?" It won't matter because they have bird rights to both of them, I believe.
Yeah.
So they can go over the cap, so it really doesn't matter, which I think they're already over anyway. But cap space won't really matter for the Thunder. They can offer him a max, and I assume they would for PG. I don't know about Melo, but they will for PG. From Drew Hernandez, who was fired, he asks, "Is Randall going to average 25, 10, and 5 in his prime, or is he going to average 30, 15, and 10? Hani, you're the Randall stan around here. Which one's he going to average?"
Okay. First things first, Drew, you're fired. Second things, Randall is better than Kuzma. That's also directed at Drew. I don't know, man. I don't know what this question is.
I just wanted you to
quite honest with you. Once you said it's from Drew Hernandez, I kind of just tuned it out.
That's fine.
Well, if I could expand on that, Drew, you're fired.
The last question we're going to end tonight on. I've looked at this question for 10 minutes, and I don't know what my answer is. From @DrewPock, "If you could transplant one animal body part onto your own, what would it be? And don't say wings." Grant, I'm putting you on the spot. You're going first.
Wait, so what is it? I'm like totally confused.
If you could take one animal body part and put it onto your own body, what would it be?
Well, I mean, why don't we have Harrison on because he's already done that with the draft.
Oh no. Okay.
No. Let's see.
Shut it down.
No. That's a really, really weird question.
Well, I will say somebody in the comment or in the replies answered udders, and that was a very odd answer.
I'm gonna say turtle shell.
Turtle
just
shell.
Because I can't say wings.
That's not a bad one.
That is a decent one.
I would take a rhinoceros's horn.
You bastard! I was gonna say that.
There's a couple reasons. One, it's badass. Two, it'll cover up my giant nose. Thanks for the moral support. You guys just laughed. Whatever.
We just roasted Harrison. We didn't provide him any moral support.
He doesn't need it. That's about it.
I honestly have no idea because I thought Rhino Horn was going to be safe, so I'm just going with that one.
Yeah, I mean, my pick came from basically just like loving Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles my whole life.
Good. I'm proud of you. You raised a good kid, Jacob.
I taught him well. I will take full credit for that. With that, I don't think we had any questions in the comments.
Let's see. We had one, or at least two, from friend of the show and noted Lakers fan, Muskan. She's asked, "Is Muskan cool?"
No.
All right, that settles that. A big friend of the site is at NBA Think Pieces. He wanted me to expand on my Luol Deng is Batman theory that I dropped on the last Locked On Lakers I was on. And let's see, for those who didn't listen to the show, if there's gonna be one person like to use a secret tunnel, it's Luol Deng, because one, he has enough money to like excavate a tunnel, and he can take martial arts lessons. And there's a reason, like Harrison was saying, there's a reason that he can't jump, he can't run for games because he's out all night fighting crime in a rubber suit. And so, like, yeah, there's not a more obvious answer. Luol Deng may be Batman. 72 million can get you access to a lot of things,
including fake All-Star votes.
Fake All-Star votes and secret tunnels.
Hey, speaking of secret tunnels, let's talk about how many Lakers former Lakers were involved in that fight really quick.
You got Trevor Ariza.
Yeah, apparently it wasn't Clint Capella at the front door. It was actually Tariq Black.
Yeah, Tariq Black. You got Chris Paul.
Exactly. That's the most important one. Lou Williams probably just walked out with his two girlfriends.
What about Wes Johnson?
Oh yeah, former Laker.
I have burned that one out of my memory. That was awful.
Does that do it for former Lakers? And Werthes isn't with the Rockets anymore. He was never with the Rockets, really.
Yeah, that's it.
All right.
What team would be most likely to come and try to fight the Lakers?
The Pacers for tampering.
It wouldn't be a podcast without roasting the Pacers, so we're leaving on that one. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at Lakers Outsiders. We will maybe have Gary on. We'll bring him on next week so Hani can roast him after Nevada beats them.
Yeah, exactly. You can't duck me forever, Kester.
We will. We'll try to have another podcast here soon. Try to not have as long of a wait. But
all right, see you guys in 3 months.
We appreciate everybody who left questions. Those who were watching, left comments and whatnot. Appreciate all you guys. Until, I guess, 3 months from now, we will see you guys later.
Yeah, even the ones we couldn't acknowledge, we saw them, and they were very funny.
Shout out to former Laker Chris Paul.